The fluorescent light hummed, a sickly halo above the kitchen table, illuminating the ropes biting into his wrists. His son whimpered, a small, fragile sound against the backdrop of impending horror. The cold coffee on the counter mirrored the chill settling deep in his bones. A stupid, gleeful smile haunted his memory. The gunman had taken something sacred, and now the silence was a suffocating reminder of what was lost. His past was a ghost he could never outrun. The burner-phone pulsed in his hand, a malevolent artifact whispering promises of revenge. The photograph on the screen burned into his retinas, a testament to his moment of weakness, a weapon in the hands of a puppeteer. His son's soft breathing filled the room, a fragile melody in a symphony of despair. Innocence slept soundly beside him, unaware of the darkness that now clung to their home, a stain that would never wash away. He was a planner, a man of order, but now chaos reigned. The carefully constructed walls of his life had crumbled, leaving him exposed to the cold, unforgiving winds of fate. The word proof echoed in his mind, a brand searing his soul. The photograph was more than an image. It was a noose, tightening with each passing moment, threatening to choke the life out of him. Bargains were for fools. The man with the gun held all the cards, and David was merely a pawn in his twisted game, a player with no chance of winning. The kiss on his son's forehead was a promise, a vow, whispered in the darkness. He would not let this stand. He would become the nightmare that haunted the dreams of those who had wronged him. Choices dwindled, each one leading down a path paved with blood and regret. But he would choose. He would become the architect of his own vengeance, the master of his own dark destiny. The house held its breath, waiting. The air thickened with unspoken promises and the weight of impending violence. The clock ticked on, each second a hammer blow against his sanity. He remembered her laugh, the way sunlight caught in her hair, the warmth of her hand in his. Now those memories were poisoned, tainted by the horror of that night. The list he was compiling was short, brutal, and inevitable. Each name was a debt to be paid, a score to be settled, a life to be extinguished. Sleep offered no solace, only a relentless replay of the events in the kitchen. The gunman's grin, his wife's lifeless eyes, his son's silent screams. The gun felt heavy in his hand, a cold, hard extension of his rage. It was a tool of death, but it was also a tool of justice, a means to an end. The first name on the list was the gunman. He would find him, and he would make him pay for the sins he had committed. He followed him through the streets, a ghost in the night, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. The moment of reckoning was near. The gunman entered a bar, a haven of vice and despair. David waited outside, his patience wearing thin, his resolve hardening. Inside, the gunman laughed, oblivious to the danger that lurked outside. His arrogance would be his undoing. David entered the bar, his face a mask of fury. The music stopped, and the room fell silent as all eyes turned to him. "Remember me?" David asked, his voice a low, menacing growl. The gunman's smile faded, replaced by a look of dawning horror. The gunshots echoed through the bar, shattering the silence. Chaos erupted as patrons screamed and scrambled for cover. The gunman fell to the floor, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Justice had been served, but at what cost? David stood over the body, his face stained with blood. He had avenged his wife and son, but the pain remained, a gaping wound that would never heal. He fled the bar, leaving a trail of death and destruction in his wake. He was now a fugitive, hunted by the police, but he didn't care. He found refuge in an abandoned warehouse, a sanctuary of shadows and silence. He was alone, but he was free. He knew the police would eventually find him. He was prepared to face the consequences of his actions. The sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder with each passing moment. His time was running out. The police stormed the warehouse, their guns drawn. David didn't resist. He had nothing left to lose. He was taken into custody, his face expressionless. He knew he would spend the rest of his life in prison. In prison, he found a strange sort of peace. He had avenged his family, and that was all that mattered. But even in prison, the nightmares continued. He could never escape the memory of that night in the kitchen. He would never be free. The echoes of betrayal would haunt him for the rest of his days. He closed his eyes and saw her face, a vision of love and forgiveness. Perhaps one day he would find redemption. But until then, he would remain a prisoner of his own making, forever haunted by the echoes of betrayal. The end had come, but the story of loss and vengeance would live on, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks within us all.